And now, you know, obviously the smartphone makes everybody a video producer, whether they want to or not. They are. Now It's just back to communication basics. You know, what and why should they do it, right? And I don't think there's enough emphasis on that. I think people like digital strategists like, go and produce your content and you'll figure it out. Yeah, but why? Why? You know what I mean? And so I think people really need to kind of come back to like, what are they trying to achieve?
Today I have a special guest, Chris Schwager, and I wanted to bring him on the show today to talk about how to actually present authentically and happy online, right? And Chris has over 2 decades of experience in the video space, so hey, there's no one better than Chris to ask about the video space. So Chris, welcome, and introduce a little bit about what Ridgefilm does and, you know, what got you into the video business in the first place.
Yeah, so we're a video marketing company who produce videos specifically for professional businesses. However, in the last 2 years, that's all changed with the likes of the DIY and helping individuals like yourself help them to basically produce their own content themselves, but get a professional streamlined approach to it as well, so it's not some crappy webcam. So myself and my business partner started Ridgefilm in 2002, so we have 20 years in this business, and before that producing short films, weddings, anything we could get our hands on. We started out as school buddies, and back further even more than that, I'm the youngest of 8 children, which makes me very attention seeking, and I look to constantly improve attention for my clients.
Wonderful. So, you know, when it comes to videos, people are like, oh, videos are trending now. You know, you should get on videos. And yet you saw that 20 years ago or more, you know, like what got you interested in the video space in the first place?
Well, I guess partly because I just found it didn't have an academic arm to it. You know, you could go and be a video producer. You didn't need to study. You didn't need to go to university. That was partly what a creative mind, I guess, in some respect, is drawn to a little bit is, okay, what's the path of least resistance to becoming a super rock star video director? The process that took me through was a trial and error, a constant trial and error. And I remember people telling me back in the day, oh, the only way you'll ever work on feature film set, for instance, with the big stars is by starting out as a bloody caterer. My first film that I worked on as an assistant director on a feature film, and did 2 films that year, one of which was sold to Sony Pictures and released theatrically. So it is possible, people. It is possible to have a career and take the big leap. It's just a bit of persistence and also learning your skill set through other means to be able to get you there.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to videos, the more I do videos, the more I just love the result of it. You know, seeing a business owner talking on the camera and really sharing from their heart, and it captures the emotions. And yeah, was it something like that got you really intrigued with videos too, as a medium?
Yeah, I think storytelling was the biggest thing. It was kind of like, it was like a moving canvas for me. I was always into art and music and those types of things. And the idea as a young bloke from the Sutherland Shire, I kind of almost believed that there was nobody else out there producing videos. And this is back in the 90s, right? So, yeah, the boom never was really a thing back then. Short films were a big thing, and short film festivals and all that. Yeah, I was excited by seeing a result at the end. I was excited by seeing an audience consume it and like it or hate it, you know, and having that kind of experience from it, but also the exploration of the fact that I was always learning something new. It was always this test and measure, trial things, what worked, what didn't work, how could I kind of paint things in my vision, I guess. And what I realized over the years as I grew more mature is that going into the world of professional video marketing is there's always a paid audience. No matter what you were doing, you had a guaranteed audience that was going to watch this video, and you could never say that for the creative work. You could never say the same thing, and there's so many, you know, people my age who've, you know, remortgaged houses to go and invest in feature films, only to be burnt and to find that, you know, it's much more. Video in its essence is much more than just creativity. It's much more than painting a beautiful picture. It's also about the 101 different things that come along with it. And I just got off a call this morning with somebody saying, you know, I tried doing my 30 videos in 30 days, a challenge that was brought on by some, you know, digital strategists. And of course, he got 10 days in, it was all too hard. Other things took priority and away he went. And it was all, you know, all fell over. So it's as much about building a process, and it is so aligned to a business in that, you know, you still need to understand whether there's going to be a paid audience or an audience that will consume this content. And if not, you need to rethink your strategy, because you could quite possibly be wasting your money.
Interesting. So I guess the whole, now that you've been in the industry for like 20 years, you've probably come across so many different people at different stages in their video journey. What is it that you think makes people so afraid to be on camera and feel like, you know, don't have that confidence to be on camera?
Well, it is one of the biggest fears. Presenting not only on camera, but just presenting in general, getting up in front of people and presenting is a big deal. And I think some of the limitations that stop people from investing in video is probably three main ones that we've identified. Is they've invested in some sort of equipment, and they realize that having the best camera didn't mean that they were able to create the best video, and that equipment over time would just accumulate dust in the garage and sort of go nowhere. Because there were, again, no process, right? So the other type of person is the one that has spent 10 hours in the car trying to record a 60-second video, only to end up saying, it's crap, it's horrible, I can't believe I spent so long doing that, and look at the only thing that I've achieved. So those people have gone through this kind of vicious cycle of trying to repeat a process that's actually the wrong process, and that nobody was actually there to guide and Sherpa them through that properly, professionally. And the third person is the one that's completely new to it, you know, and that they're the ones that interest us the most, because we've had a long history, 20 years in the business, and these are the same people that are coming to us now that were coming to us 20 years ago. Okay, I need to produce videos, and it's the same question we always ask them: what is your problem? What's your reason for needing video? What are your marketing objectives? And get them steering out of this concept of like, well, I just want a creative piece of thing. It's video for TikTok or for my website. It's like, well, that's not enough now. Attention is scarce, and you've got to be far more aggressive and kind of multifaceted in your approach to video to make sure that you are everywhere. Like, people are making decisions about us because now we're on TikTok, we're on YouTube, we're across LinkedIn. We're so prevalent with our approach to video. It's not, they were sold on us because they watched one company profile video on our homepage. No, people are intrinsically going to snoop around. They want to know more, and you need to be there to give it to them.
Yeah. So in short, we're going to have to make a lot more videos than just trying to do one and expecting results. So how is it that they can, as people become more confident and be able to present like a pro? And what I do is I love that you've got the home studio kit, which I've installed, which means that I have the convenience to be able to shoot content more often and not have to wait for a videographer to come or have that resistance of trying to shoot for myself, which means that the more resistance, the more I'm not going to shoot. So it's definitely helped me to shoot more. Now, having that camera set up, now I can shoot. So what can I do to present like a pro?
Yeah, well, there are 5 basic pillars to performance that we go through with all of our amateur presenters. And this is such a great session for people. It's 90 minutes long. It's called On Camera Training, by the way. And it breaks down people's bad habits and rebuilds new ones effectively. And when we hear people reading for the first time from a teleprompter, a script, predefined script, it reminds me of my daughter who's 8 reading for the first time. It is without punctuation, it is slow, it's boring, it's very monotone. And when you present on camera, you've actually got to make believe like you've just come out on stage in a big theatre play. And that's the performance we really need. So on a scale of 0 to 10, most people give about a mediocre 5. They're not understanding the comprehension of what they're saying, or do they give it any love? And all they're really focused on is reading the words off the page. That's it. Read the words from the teleprompter. That is their number one goal. And as they find out in the next 60 minutes, there are a whole bunch of little micro things that they've got to accumulate and take their performance from this unconscious behavior, which is what they do in their normal presentations on a daily basis, and turn it into a conscious behavior. So here's my 5 top tips. You got to smile, right? Smile to start. Smile lights up the room, and in the world of video, you've got this much space to play with and limited time. In fact, milliseconds to grab attention. So you've got to come in smiling like a concierge at a hotel, opening the door. If I came in to open the door for you and I went, "Hello, Lynn," come to the, obviously that would be reflecting a very poor body language. Whereas if I went, "Hey, Lynn, welcome to the hotel. Let me know. I'm Chris. Let me know if I can help you in any way. I'm here for you," right? And so the start and the finish of any video is ultimately what I believe the most important part of any interaction with your clients. It's the part of the interaction where people make emotional decisions about you. And so the way you introduce your video and the way you close your video are vitally important as to the impression and that feeling that people will get from using you. So that's smiling, that's body language, right? Speed is a huge one. So this is number 2. Speed is the thing that people often think that they should be reading more slow and articulated. Well, that's not how we talk, right? We talk fast, we talk sporadic, and we often, depending on whether things are factual or value-based, we will slow things down if we really want people to hear them, or we'll go really quickly because we just want to get the content out. So those are the 2 different things, but speeding and rate of speed is really important. Most people that I dial in on speed and get them to read things quickly often feel like they're racing and they're over-delivering, but when they watch it back, oh, actually, that seems a lot better, right? So it's not until people watch their performance back that they fully comprehend and why their brain is to say, oh, okay, so what my brain is telling me is wrong. It's actually what the camera is seeing is actually the evidence that's there to determine how my performance is going, right? But it only works when there's somebody, an intermediary, actually guiding them through that, and that is a video director. So there's a lot of talk at the moment about Udemy and trying to get online courses and things like that. And I think self-help type video content like that, like we have our own video portal to do that, is great, but it's never going to expedite performance. It's going to take a long time for people to get that, nailed, because they don't have somebody to prod and push them. And any outsider, any outsourced help is always going to be of value to any individual or business, because they're just going to move a hell of a lot quicker than they did. Now, 3. Let's move on to 3. Let's pick one. Tone, right? How important? Like, it gets a reaction from you just as soon as I change my tone. But unfortunately, when people read for the first time, it is, "Hello, Lynn. It is nice to see you. I'm very, very happy to be on your podcast." Right? So it's very mono and very neutral, and we're playing in the center of the keyboard. You know what I mean? So I constantly use this analogy, like, performance is like playing from a keyboard. You've got high notes and you've got low notes, and you need to know when to actually use the entire keyboard. Because if I went and just did anybody that's reading for the first time from a teleprompter is going to be in the middle of the keyboard, ding, 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 ding. There is nothing interesting about that. It's not a melody yet, right? But when they use the high and low tones, all of a sudden things become melodic, things become interesting, it becomes a song. And that's kind of the analogy I use for performance. Let's go number 4, body language. I've touched on a little bit, but body language comes second to all the auditory elements that we teach in on-camera training, because when you get things like speed and inflection and tone and all these other things working in the mind of the presenter, their body language follows. Their eyebrows lift, things light up, they're less rigid, they're more mobile with their body because they're focusing on other things and their body responds to it. So that's a really great thing. I love seeing how little I add by way of body language, and really smiling is the first thing I teach, and then I steer away from it until the end, and they say, "Oh, what do I do with my hands?" And I'm like, "Okay, I've got a solution for that as well." But ultimately, they're becoming a lot looser in their skin, which comes across beautifully for the end result, and the audience kind of feels like they're making a greater connection with the viewer, because because they're much more relaxed, and with that relaxation comes that authority, like they've done it a million times before, and so there's a lot of confidence built through them just being relaxed in their skin and feeling like they're confident and know what they're talking about. And number 5, let's talk about number 5. Do I have a number 5?
I thought you said you did.
Let's leave you with 4. I'll give you 5 in a sec. I'm sure there's a 5th.
Yeah. Look, if anything, number 5 for me is just practice. So if I was to look back at my video journey, I reckon the first way would have been to shoot video. When I was trying to just say it to the camera, it was so impossible. It took hours just to do a short video. Now, if I had a studio kit like this with the teleprompter there, it would have made video making more easier, because you no longer have to worry about the content. You just worry about the presentation, and then you can just get a bunch of videos out. And the more you do it, the more you're natural. The other thing about presenting on camera naturally is I felt that after I did a lot of podcast interviews, like I'm interviewing people, even though I'm not the one. I'm the one interviewing the person. I wasn't even nervous interviewing people at the beginning, but after a lot, I became more natural. So I feel like those are some of my tips on how I felt. Like if I was to reverse, I would have done that way, practice podcast interview, practice teleprompting, because if you suck at just talking out in person because you're still lacking so much confidence, you will probably just give up on the whole video journey. How was it for you when it comes to, like, if you look back at your journey, which way would you have done with the natural confidence on camera? Yeah,
look, I'll give you my version of that because it's a little bit more controversial. I get asked all the time in the on-camera training session towards the end where people say, okay, so what next? Should I rehearse, like, to go home? And I say, no. I've never seen any evidence of people improving from rehearsing after on-camera training. And I say it because I believe that their time invested 90 minutes professionally at a cost. This is a serious thing. I'm not telling them to go and practice and spend another 4 hours dicking around, because I don't believe that that's a great use of their time. And furthermore, if they're practicing, in front of the mirror, here's a scenario, right? In front of the mirror, their partner's like laying on the bed with a glass of red wine. They go, how does this sound, darling? Doing their thing. And I'm like, oh, what does that mean? Like, oh, that's a bit weird, right? And all of a sudden, they're accumulating some doubt. And they're regressing because ultimately they don't have a guide, a professional guide, a director. They're going, no, you're actually right on the money. This is actually where you need to be. So I say no. I say straight up no. Do not rehearse, because I don't want you unwinding anything that we've taught or building any unnecessary anxiety over a simple on-camera presentation where you have me there to help you. Now, that's the professional scenario, okay? So that's not, hey, I'm going to do a quick little LinkedIn live or a little LinkedIn video or whatever. But that's the professional response to people that have hired us professionally to do the job. We want to minimise their time and increase the output, and that's what I've found over the years. With regards to the DIYers, 100% you're always going to get better. I am a student of DIY. I am a student of the DIY video program. I am learning just like everybody else on what works best.
Just so everyone's clear, DIY meaning that you shoot your own videos. And DIY is a studio kit that the Ridgefilms or Chris helps you to install. But in short, we're saying that if you are trying to shoot your own videos and you want to increase your confidence, then you just keep on producing videos and focus on producing the first 100 videos is what most YouTubers tell you. Just shoot away and don't worry, because it's in the process of the journey that you become better. And like me, I end up loving video so much that I do videos all the time, and I even wanted to become an actor. From someone that was so camera shy to being that, it tells you that anyone could nurture this skill set.
I'm a big believer in proliferation beats perfection. That the things stopping people from getting content out, whether it's good or bad, is ultimately their own ego, their own self-worth, whether they can be vulnerable to their market, or they choose to be passive and pull back and not let everybody. There is marketing evidence that vulnerability is the key to actually getting shit done, and also creating enough interest level in the market. It's kind of like friction-based marketing to a certain degree. It's easy to ask for forgiveness than it is to ask for permission. This concept of you won't know until you let it roll, right? Like so anybody sitting back trying to perfect it and spend endless hours trying to do that, the market will tell you how you go, right? And it's not perfect. People would quite happy to look at the iPhone version of content and see people fuck up and change the paradigm of video. And in my history, nothing changed for bloody 15 years, 10 to 15 years. Really, there was very little innovation and very little happened. And then YouTube, of course, took everything to the next level, and DSLR and digital technologies made things a lot more accessible for people. And now, obviously the smartphone makes everybody a video producer, whether they want to or not. They are. Now It's just back to communication basics. What and why should they do it, right? And I don't think there's enough emphasis on that. I think people like digital strategists like, go and produce your content and you'll figure it out. Yeah, but why? You know what I mean? And so I think people really need to kind of come back to like, what are they trying to achieve? And
I also love the production assistance that you provide, which we needed you in there, is because if I could go back time, if I worked with a coach, like yourself, I would have, really ace my game and not quit so many times on my video journey. So, with your production assistance, what are some of the different things you could help people with if they don't want to be alone on this journey of like practicing and try their best to be naturally and they're on their own?
Yeah. One of the things that still remains consistent is that equipment on your desk, equipment set up on your tripod, any sort of equipment will always be equipment and has the ability just to collect dust and be this kind of like constant form of procrastination because you've not been able to implement a process and a system behind it to enable you to do it consistently every single time. And the clients that we're video coaching are getting the rhythm behind what they're wanting to do. I think there's a lot of people that are overly ambitious about their video goals and what they're trying to achieve in business, and then looking at the opportunities to do more and to do it better. So that's the strategy side of things. There's a whole bunch. There's about a half a dozen major elements to that strategy that we work to map things through. We work with your team to make sure that everybody's on board. We can appoint a video hero within your organizations who we actually work with to be us effectively in the organization and train people around them. So I could go on and on around the video production side of it, but implementation is another big thing to help people not just be able to be great at presenting their message, getting clear on script writing. Obviously, the filming side of things is relatively straightforward with the DIY desktop studios made that possible. But we'll also help them with their own equipment as well. So if they're just looking for video coaching, we can actually basically do a hell of a lot to enable them to create content and support them by the principles that we put in place, the 101 different things that they really need to think about, not just, okay, I've been able to record a relatively clear video on my iPhone, but then what? So implementation is the big thing that is still stifling a lot of people is how do they publish? How do they talk about it? How do they integrate it in their e-newsletters, for instance? And how would you put a video in an email that quickly? Those types of things are stumping a lot of people, and they're not video producers, and they'll never be video producers. And, a financial planning organization is not going to be a video producer, and they should never have to think that they'll ever be that. They really need to just learn what they need to learn in order to integrate video into their business, and then leave the rest to a simple process or outsource or whatever it is to make it feasible for them.
Yeah, and between us two, there's so much that we can do for a business owner, whether you want to install your own equipment or get videographers out to shoot, and whether you need just coaching or video editing, we've got it all here. So thank you so much, Chris, for spending time with me today. We'll get all your details in the descriptions and as well as ours. But yeah, thank you for sharing your tips on how we can help people present more confidently on camera.
It is absolutely a pleasure, Lynn.